All right, get ready for this one because today we're going deep into a true crime mystery, and it's got this whole Appalachian mystique to it, the Bluefield Cave murder. I've got your research and notes here, and I gotta say, this case, it's both fascinating and incredibly puzzling.
Oh, it really is. It's like we've got all these puzzle pieces, but no idea how they fit together.
Exactly. So for everyone listening, picture this. It's fall 2002. A hiker is exploring a remote cave near Bluefield, West Virginia. And what does he find tucked away in the shadows? Skeletal remains.
Chilling, right. And that discovery, it just throws up a wall of questions. Who was this man? How did he end up in this isolated cave? Was it an accident, a crime, or something even stranger?
And from the get-go, investigators were facing a ton of obstacles. I mean, the body was so decomposed, it was almost impossible to identify the victim or figure out how he died. And to make things even harder, there were zero personal belongings at the scene. No wallet, no keys, nothing.
You know, you'd think with that lack of evidence, the drifter theory would be the most likely, right? Someone just passing through, seeking shelter, meets a tragic end. But then that doesn't explain why nobody reported him missing.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Even a drifter, you'd think, would have some connection, someone who would notice they were gone.
Exactly. And this is where the details we do have become crucial. For instance, the body, it was estimated to have been in the cave for months, maybe longer, and the clothing, completely nondescript. Jeans, a flannel shirt, a single hiking boot.
So, like, no clues about his life or why he was there.
Exactly. And while there were no clear signs of violence, no gunshot wounds or stabbings, the position of the remains, it just felt off, like something wasn't right.
So we're already thinking potential homicide. And with so little to go on, it's not surprising that all sorts of theories started popping up around Bluefield. Some folks leaned towards the drifter theory we mentioned, but others thought it was something darker.
Oh yeah, the remoteness of the cave definitely makes you think foul play. Was he killed somewhere else and brought there to disappear? It wouldn't be the first time something like that happened in these mountains.
Especially when you think about the history of Appalachia, you know. It's a place with a long memory and a code of silence that can be tough to crack. Weren't there even some locals whispering about old coal mining feuds as a possible motive?
Yeah, there were. And while that might sound far-fetched, you can't forget that the coal industry here has a pretty rough past. There are actual cases of violence and revenge that have never been solved, going back decades.
So are we saying this could be some kind of Appalachian vendetta carried out in the shadows of these mountains?
Well, it's a possibility, but not the only one. Remember, this region is also steeped in folklore. Stories about cursed lands, disappearances, even supernatural stuff. It's hard not to wonder if there's something more to this case than we can see on the surface.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting for me. It's like we're stepping into one of those dark Appalachian folktales where you can't tell what's real and what's myth.
Precisely. Could this be one of those cases where those old stories have a grain of truth to them? There are just so many unknowns here. It really opens the door to all sorts of speculation.
But hold on, because there's a twist coming. Fast forward to 2015, and forensic genealogy explodes onto the scene. Now investigators can use DNA to potentially trace family connections through huge genealogy databases. Total game changer, right?
Absolutely. Think about it. The ability to use this massive network of genetic information to maybe uncover links that traditional investigations couldn't even dream of. That's what we're talking about here.
And that's exactly what happened with this Bluefield Cave case. DNA analysis finally gave investigators a name. Michael Trent Parker, a man from Kentucky who disappeared in early 2002. Huge breakthrough, right? But it also threw a whole new bunch of questions into the mix.
It's wild, isn't it? We go from not knowing who this man was to having a name, a background, a life that was cut short. But instead of answers, we just get more mysteries. Why would a guy from Kentucky, with no apparent connection to Bluefield, end up dead in a remote West Virginia cave?
Exactly. How did he even get there? Did he go willingly, or was someone else involved? And here's another curveball. His family never reported him missing because they believed he had decided to start a new life.
Oh, wow. That adds a whole other dimension to the case. What made them think that? Were there signs he left on purpose, or was it just an assumption that's hiding something darker?
So now we've got this strange situation. Michael Trent Parker has a name, but his story is still a complete mystery. His final moments, how he died, if anyone else was involved, it's all still a big question mark.
It's like Michael Parker walked out of his life in Kentucky and straight into a void, only to reappear as a nameless skeleton in that cave.
That's a haunting thought for sure. And it really shows how much we still don't know about his last days, weeks, maybe even months leading up to his death.
It's that thing about his family thinking he just started a new life.
Yeah.
That really gets to me.
Oh, I know, right? Like, they were okay with him being gone without asking too many questions. But why? I mean, was it based on something real, or were they just trying to cope with him vanishing like that?
That's the big question, isn't it? Did he leave a note or anything? Did he say he wanted to cut ties and start over? Or did his family just assume that because he wasn't talking to them anymore?
And even if we think about that for a second, it still doesn't explain the cave. It's not like it's on the way to somewhere, you know what I mean?
Exactly. You don't just end up in a place that isolated by accident. It takes effort to get there. So Parker either knew the area, which doesn't seem likely since he was from Kentucky, or someone took him there.
Okay, now you're making me think about those coal mining feud rumors again. Could this be tied to some old conflict we don't know about?
Well, it's possible. But those were just rumors, right? We don't actually have any proof that Michael Parker was involved in any coal mining feud. It's a good story, but we got to be careful not to get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, that's fair. But you have to admit, the idea of some hidden motive connected to Appalachian history makes this case even more interesting.
Oh, for sure. You can't ignore the history, the dark side of things in this region. But right now, we need more than just theories.
So where do we go from here? The drifter theory isn't really holding up, and we don't have enough for the coal mining thing. What else is there?
Well, now that we know Michael Parker's name, the investigation changes. Instead of asking, who is this guy, we're asking, what brought him to that cave and how did he die? To answer those questions, we have to look closer at his life before he disappeared.
You mean like retrace his steps in Kentucky, figure out his relationships, his money situation, any reason someone might want to hurt him?
Yeah, exactly. Was there anything in his life that could lead him to that cave? Was he running from something? Was he involved in something dangerous? Or did someone make him go there?
It's like we're building a profile, trying to understand what would bring a person to a place like that. We need to know what kind of guy he was, what secrets he might have had.
Exactly. And that includes looking closer at his family's idea that he started a new life. Was there anything to back that up? Were there holes in their story? We have to look at everything, even the little things.
Okay, so we're digging into Michael Parker's past, trying to understand him. But what about the other side of this? The cave itself.
Ah, the cave. That's another piece of this puzzle that we should look at closer. We need to know what it means, not just where it is, but its history and what it means to people around there.
Are you thinking there's something about this specific cave that made it a place for criminal activity? Was it a hideout or a place for secret meetings?
Those are great questions. And we should also think about the folklore. Are there any stories or legends about the cave that might tell us something?
It's like the cave is a witness to whatever happened to Michael Parker. It's holding secrets that we haven't figured out yet.
I like that. And maybe if you look at the cave more closely, understand its history and where it fits in, we can uncover those secrets.
This investigation could go in so many directions. We're talking about family stuff, money, local history, even folklore. It's a lot to untangle.
It is, but that's what makes this case so interesting. It's a mystery that touches so many different parts of life in this region. Family secrets, the unknown, the power of the past. It's all woven together in this case.
And it's all connected to this remote cave hidden away in the mountains of West Virginia. It's almost like the mountains themselves are part of the story.
Yeah, it's like those mountains are a character in this whole thing. You've got the rough terrain, the thick forests, all those hidden hollows and caves. It's the kind of place that could swallow secrets whole, you know?
Oh, absolutely. It's not hard to imagine someone vanishing without a trace in a place like that. I mean, even with all the tech we have today, it's still tough to search such a huge and unforgiving area.
Right, and that isolation, that feeling of being cut off from everything, it might have played a part in Michael Parker's story, too. We talked about the drifter theory, but what if he wasn't just passing through?
You think he might have wanted to be isolated?
It's something to think about. What if he was running from something? Or trying to get away from his life back in Kentucky? Maybe he felt stuck, like his past was weighing him down.
So maybe he was looking for a clean slate, a chance to start over? Or maybe he was drawn to those mountains for a totally different reason.
Yeah, like maybe he was looking for some peace and quiet, a place to think, to get away from all the pressure. Or maybe he was drawn to that darker side of the region, the mystery of it all, the thrill of going somewhere forbidden.
We did talk about the darker side of Appalachian folklore, all those stories about cursed places and people disappearing. Could there be a connection there? Did Michael Parker stumble into something he shouldn't have?
It's interesting, isn't it? His remains were found by a hiker, Someone who is drawn to the beauty and the quiet of those same mountains. It's almost like the same things that might attracted Michael Parker ended up leading to the discovery of what happened to him.
It's a strange and kind of sad paradox, you know? Even in these remote, unforgiving places, people's lives cross paths and eventually secrets come out.
This case, it's got true crime, that Appalachian mystery, all these unanswered questions. It really makes you think about how human nature, the landscape, and the power of the past are all connected.
Yeah. It reminds us that even with all our fancy technology and forensics, some stories just don't have easy answers. And some secrets stay hidden in the shadows.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this Bluefield Cave mystery, what sticks out to you the most? Is it the tragedy of Michael Parker and his unknown fate?
It makes you think, the truth can be really hard to find. Sometimes it's hidden in a cave or maybe lost somewhere in our memories.
Here's a thought to leave you with. As you think about the Bluefield Cave mystery, think about this. What other secrets are hiding in those Appalachian mountains? What other mysteries are waiting in the shadows of those old hills, just waiting to be discovered?
Maybe someday we'll find the answers, but until then, the Bluefield Cave is a reminder of how powerful the unknown can be. It's a story that keeps us guessing and keeps us coming back for more.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast. The West Virginia Media Lab is all about celebrating our state and its people, businesses, stories, news, and folklore. If you love West Virginia like we do, be sure to comment below, then subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell to stay connected. Until next time, stay wild, wonderful, West Virginia.